Oftentimes when you make things, you make mistakes. And those mistakes, you learn from them, of course, and they are valuable, but you don't document them, or I tend to lose that information. That's why I'd like to start this mini-series within the mini-series that is about failed prototypes, about things that didn't work. Here are, in front of us, some of them. Today we're going to focus on this one. So just a couple of words about what this is. It's basically two things in one. This is, on one side, it's a low-pass filter with resonance. On the other side, it's a reverb, an Accutronics-based reverb. The filter side is a copy or reproduction of an MS-20 style low-pass filter. MS-20 is this sort of older Korg synthesizer, the big black one. And the reverb is a fairly common, it's built on a fairly common building block that is used in a lot of reverb pedals called a Belton brick. And actually playing it right now, I kind of enjoy it a lot. But it has its idiosyncrasies, and even if you look at the pedal itself, it's a monster. It's a Frankenstein. Let's break it down, let's look inside of it, and let's figure out what went wrong, if anything went wrong with it. Here's one very obvious thing that went wrong. The pedal originally was supposed to be in an enclosure like this, a much smaller format. The issue is that I've designed the board and laid out the jacks, all the hardware, in a way that just would not fit into the original enclosure. Let's open up and look at it. So, ignoring this mess of controls on the left side of the pedal, one thing that you can immediately see that there is potentiometers down there, there is the board that takes up a lot of space, and the jacks that I was planning on using, these black ones, they are much larger and they interfere with the board and the potentiometers if I would have used this small enclosure. And of course I only realized it once I've done the enclosure, I've ordered the boards, and I've sort of put everything together in this format first. So I had to go and get a tall enclosure of a similar size just to make sure that, I can use the pedal. Big lesson here is, of course, planning everything and laying everything out, not only in 2D, but in 3D, considering the box that you're building for first and foremost, that's something I'm trying to do nowadays, is start from the box, start with the controls. If I'm planning on something that is very compact, then I have to start laying things out in 3D in whatever shape or form I can do that. So not necessarily using 3D software, but maybe drawing things out in both sort of this projection and this projection, vertical and horizontal projections. That helps. Another thing that might catch your attention is all the extra controls and wires, and you can see that the layout of this device is slightly more complex than the layout of this device. This knob was not supposed to be here originally, this knob was not supposed to be here. Obviously all of this originally was not supposed to be here. I've started putting things in because I was not happy with the range of controls or how the pedal sounded in certain settings, and I wanted to try things out and experiment with things a bit more, experiment with circuits a bit more. And nowadays, with the benefit of hindsight, I understand that the issue is that the thing is complex. I'm playing with basically two parts of a pedal, the filter part and the reverb part, and I'm messing with controls for both, and I'm trying to find sweet spots where they both sound well together. Also realized that, for example, using a low-pass filter instead of a high-pass filter might have been not the best idea for this specific Belton brick reverb chip, because the Belton brick kind of works well and sort of vibes better with higher frequencies. So putting a low-pass filter in front of it obviously doesn't really make much sense. So a lot of things that kind of brought me to a conclusion that whenever I'm doing complex stuff like that, there is actually multiple things at once. It might have been better to actually do prototypes for separate modules separately and then work with them, for example, on a breadboard or somewhere else, to figure out the sweet spots and controls for both of those parts before putting it all into a single big enclosure with everything together, right? So if I would instead build the MS-20 filter separately, maybe on a small PCB that I can plug into the breadboard, and then build the Belton brick part separately with maybe more controls broken out, also to plug into the breadboard, and then experimented with that setup a bit more to find out all the sort of sweet spots, that would have been easier. And that sort of modularity lesson is also something I try to apply nowadays more and more. And another thing that I've learned since then is that trying things out, for example, digitally, using your digital audio workstation, VCV rack, other sort of software, before committing to even a breadboard, not even talking about the printed circuit board, could have saved me so much time and effort. For example, if I would have tried the combo of a low-pass filter into reverb versus a high-pass filter into reverb, and just played the cutoff with cutoff frequencies and the resonance and heard how it sounds before even starting to work on that, might have saved me a lot of time and effort. But at the same time, to be honest, things are not that clear-cut, and I'm still making the same mistakes quite frequent, because I'm human, you know, I'm lazy, I rush things sometimes, but also because just formulating those things, formulating what went wrong, takes multiple failures, takes multiple failed attempts to build something. And then you start seeing patterns, and the lessons get absorbed, you know, gradually. So I'd say, you know, most importantly, don't be too hard on yourself. This is all part of learning, and I still enjoy this device now that I hear it. I still enjoy this device quite a lot. So, of course, even a failure is not always a failure.